Why does scuba training enforce strict systems compliance? I had an awesome experience today. I was learning scuba. This is the first time that I've ever done this. I did it with my son, Sammy, 13 and a half. He had to get a medical because he's under 15. And so he already had an experience of interacting with the scuba school's systems. We got it done. We had some friends who unfortunately left at the last minute and could not get that medical done. So we were expecting to see them there, and they weren't there. Why? Because the medical wasn't done and they said, no, you can't come in, you can't do it. This actually happened on the training with another participant. He was 17 and didn't have the parental approval form. Couldn't get that approval, couldn't do the course. And you might think, well, hey, this is really strict. This is some people just following the rules. But what I want you to consider is that Scuba has these for a reason. If they let these system failures, these system non-compliance to happen at the beginning, then when divers are out in the water, you will see those system non-compliance issues once again. And so the importance of making sure that these systems are handled and followed and complied with makes a difference. And while it might cost both of them 3 days or a week or 10 days where they have to wait until they can take their training, it means that the training for the rest of us was safe. There is risk with these scuba events. There is no doubt about that. Reading through the legal portfolio of stuff, it's like, hey, you can injure yourself. You can die. I actually had the experience of making a mistake, and it was so good because the guy was like, hey, if you come up using the power inflator, you are going to put yourself at serious risk of injury. It is highly likely that you will ascend way too fast and injure lungs, sinuses, decompression illness, bad things happen. So I'm glad that I made that mistake. And now that I know the system is do not ascend from a drive using the inflator. And you're like, well, what's the inflator there for? Well, it's very interesting. Once you get down there under the water, you can just use the inflator to set a neutral buoyancy. And what will happen is with a deep breath in, I rise up. With a deep breath out, I go down, and I can actually control my depth in the water with my breath. I'm like, oh, this is so cool. I thought it was like you press the button, it's like an escalator, up, and then you go down, up, down. But no. Interesting. They're like, no, once you establish neutral buoyancy, and they have a system for this, of course. It's like, okay, well, I have a buoyancy, the wetsuit has a buoyancy, the jackets have a buoyancy, and then to counteract that, we've got weight belts to hold it down. And so getting that weight right and then allowing the right amount of air into the buoyancy jacket then gets me to neutral. But there are risks with diving. And when people break the systems is when people injure themselves and potentially die. So we got to go through today and practice a whole bunch of emergency systems. Now, these hopefully would be used very rarely. Very rarely. But they said, you know what, you need to know all these because when it happens, you need to be trained on this. Down there, it is quite a weird experience that I was not expecting. Every now and then, my mind would freak out entirely and go, whoa, dude, you are underwater. You need to get to the surface and breathe up there. And it was interesting just going through these weird feelings of semi-panic. It wasn't a true panic. I could override it with my thoughts. And they actually, again, have a system for managing panic under there. It's stop, and then breathe, think, act. Stop, breathe, think, act. And there is actually time down there. Most events, it is not an immediate emergency, and the wrong decision is to act without thinking. But we need to be practiced at what to do when these events happen, and it was a systematic execution. This is exciting. This to me is like, okay, I can really see the benefits here of having systems in place. Now, what I want you to think about is in your business, where are your systems not being followed? Where are you allowing your medical review not to be done? Where are you allowing your 17-year-olds to come through and take the course without the parental approval? Now, a lot of the time you're going to get away with this. This is a trap. This is a trap. Like, a lot of the time you will get away with it, and you will be misled into the experience that system compliance doesn't matter. But sometimes it does. Sometimes it makes a massive difference, and if you just had a time machine, you would go back and change it. The most difficult, awkward example of recent times was Alec Baldwin shooting his photographer. Now, how that happened is a systems failure. They were not tight on their paperwork. They were not tight on the system rules that live bullets should never be on set. And somehow live bullets got on set, and then even then the protocols to prevent the firing of that gun were missed. They got sloppy. They did not have the checkboxes. Now, the reason people won't want to do this is that it does slow down. It slows people down to look and tick the box and say, yes, I did that. Yes, I did that. Yes, I did that. But this mindset will save you millions of dollars and potentially save you from some things that cannot be paid for, cannot be insured for. That girl cannot be brought back. And I bet that if Alec Baldwin could go back and say, hey, I want tight procedures, tight systems, I want to make sure that the number one risk that we have on this set, which is live guns, does not happen. So sometimes you got to know when your systems must be fully complied with. And you got to have a way of making that happen. This is where your system skill sets come in. Your ability to have and make sure that your systems documentation is with the work. What I want you to do is think of it like Lego. Lego is infinitely easier when you have the instruction manual with the blocks. This is just like your systems. You want the documentation with the work, and then your team will use it. If you put the documentation in the cupboard, in the storage file, hidden away, disorganized, it will not be used, and it is if you do not have documentation at all. If you want to get some help with this, head over to systemio.dev. Thanks for tuning in for today's episode. I hope you got a lot of value out of it. I got 2 more days of Scuba. Super excited for this. Looking forward to continuing to watch for the systems execution from the Scuba School and bringing that wisdom through to you and its application to business. All right, look forward to seeing you in tomorrow's episode as we continue this journey into the power of systems to create results. See you then.